Huge win, wasn't it, for Aston Villa, Rory? Just briefly, let's touch on City, because once again, it's another defeat for them. They're third of the season. They've slipped down to fourth. They're below Aston Villa now. It's yet another defeat when they haven't had Rodri in the team as well. They haven't won any of the games when he hasn't played this season. So how do you feel about Manchester City so far this season? Before you answer this, I saw an amazing stat earlier. In 2018-19, we've got to remember they were more games in. I think they were 19 games in. They were 10 points behind the leaders. They're 6 points behind Arsenal at the moment. They still won the league. Yes. So you can't really write them off. But at the moment, they're in a bit of a rut, aren't they?
They are. But they're really struggling. There isn't a rhythm to them. I don't really like this Alvarez playing deep in midfield. I don't think it works, to be totally frank. And there is a huge problem because the signings that are meant to make life sweet when Rodri isn't available, whether it's Núñez, whether it's Kovacic, whether it was Calvin Phillips the year before, they haven't landed. So there is no real answer to life without Rodri. I don't know if they'll look to rectify that in January. I don't know if they think Kevin De Bruyne coming back from injury will help to solve that problem. But there is a genuine vulnerability to Manchester City this year. I don't think we've said that before. Like, we've seen them lose games before. We've seen Manchester City lose lots of Premier League games. But never the way that they lost to Aston Villa. Never in the same way. No. That victory for Villa and the way that it occurred, the way that Aston Villa battered them, it was more comparable to a team, a lower league team in the cup going to Old Trafford back in the day or whatever. It was an absolute battering. Like Manchester City, for all of their brilliance, for all of their wonderful players, they had two shots. They had two shots. They had two shots. Like, that simply doesn't happen. Bear in mind as well, they had two shots. Villa had 22.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
But that is a cup fixture, isn't it? A lower league team. Like 22 shots to 2.
Well, it's the kind of performance you'd have expected Man City to put in against, one of the teams lower down in the Premier League this season, conceding a lot of goals as well. They're looking very suspect, I think, down that left-hand side. I think Guardiola's struggled there as well. There's been a lot of goals, but maybe not where he has specifically been at fault, but whoever has been playing on that left-hand side. A lot of those goals have come from there, and we kind of saw that again last night when Leon Bailey, was able to tuck inside and fire in. Yes, he gets the deflection.
Yeah, it's a fortuitous goal, but it's not a fortuitous result. Like, Aston Villa were so worthy of the game, and I was watching that game. We had it on, and it was coming. You could feel that the momentum was with Villa. You could feel that the stadium was in raptures, the whole end in fine voice, and you could see that Manchester City were really desperately feeling the pressure. Like Villa had 36 touches in Man City's box.
It's incredible.
Like, that's total overwhelming dominance. Yeah. And then it's getting to the stage where we're saying, okay, there's a real vulnerability to this City team. It's not working for them going forward. City only had 13 touches in the opposite box. So something isn't clicking. And then I think the penny drops for me. Then it isn't about City anymore. Then it's not, are City struggling? How can they cope without Rodri? Maybe the answer is simply this. City are brilliant, but so are Aston Villa, and we need to start taking them very seriously indeed.
How seriously? Well, put it this way, they have got Arsenal next at Villa Park. Massive game for both teams. If they win that, Rory, if Aston Villa win that game, and I know it's early in the season, but we are approaching Christmas, we're approaching that festive period, are they legitimate title contenders for you?
They are. Because do you know what? We can't live in a world where we say that the team that are currently above the team that the general consensus of football seems to think are going to win the league, a team that is above them has to be in the title race. Otherwise, ultimately, what we're saying is we have a one-team league.
They're 4 points off Arsenal, who are at the top at the moment. Right. They're a couple of points behind Liverpool.
If you're currently above Man City in the league, you are in the title race. So that's as far as I'm concerned. It's ludicrous to suggest they're not when they're above the team that most people think are going to win it.
Do you think they would actually have the legs, though? As a squad, as a team, do you really think that they could push? Because when you look at it, you can say that Man City haven't had the best start, but they're going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season.
Yes.
They certainly are. They're that kind of team. For me, I think Arsenal are just about favourites at the moment, purely for the position that they're in. I think that win over Luton was absolutely massive for them as well. But Aston Villa, do you think that they have a serious chance of maintaining those performance levels to keep up with Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City?
I think they do. Simply because I believe that their manager is truly brilliant. I think Unai Emery is top tier. I really do, and I don't think he gets anywhere near the respect that he deserves in this country. And I also think that they are a system team, and sometimes they're not reliant upon individual brilliance. They aren't... Rodri being out for Manchester City is far more detrimental to them than anything that could happen at Villa. Villa are a team, they are a system, they are comparable to Leicester in that way. You know, you look at the way that they play, you've got McGinn and Tielemans who will tuck in and create that box. That's interchangeable. It really does create huge problems for the opposite fullbacks.
McGinn had an amazing
He's an amazing
game last
player.
night. Yeah.
He's an amazing player. I said something really flippant and it sort of got picked up. I said that when Chelsea signed Moises Caicedo, I said, I think John McGinn's a better player and we should have signed McGinn. People laughed. People said that that's a ludicrous thing to say. Of course, McGinn's nowhere near as good as Caicedo.
Yeah, classic
He's a better player,
because
isn't he?
he's John McGinn. That's the reason they've said that.
He's a far better player, isn't he? Yeah. Like, he offers so much to that team. And in fact, a lot of what John McGinn offers, it's very difficult to even quantify. Like, you know the way that he can kind of shield the ball under pressure? He's amazing. He's the personality of that team, and I think that he is a top-class talent. Yeah. And when you look across that team, okay, the Bailey strike had an element of luck, a deflection.
He's coming into his own as well. You know, after a tough start, I think, for him, and he's starting to put in some fantastic performances. Do you know what else I think has been brilliant for Villa so far this season? Because I think if you asked me last season, despite that amazing patch of form he had at the end of the campaign, Ollie Watkins, I still felt was just slightly inconsistent as a striker for me, and I just felt sometimes it must have been so frustrating in some games for Villa because they'd create so many chances, and there were just games where you felt that Watkins wasn't converting. I feel that this season he has gone to another level, and you can see that as well. Yes, I know he didn't score last night, of course, but in plenty of games he doesn't just score at the moment. He's offering so much for them. Do I think they're title contenders? I don't quite think so at the moment. But listen, you can dare to dream, can't you? And I love that kind of thing. I would love for them to be title contenders. I'm not the biggest fan of Villa.
I just don't see how we can say they're not.
I
just don't really see how we can say they're not when they're above the... Like, we're a significant way through the season now.
My reasons are, we are a significant way through, but we're not past Christmas yet. If we were past Christmas, I'd be thinking about that a lot more. We're not quite there yet. They do also have those Thursdays still to deal with as well. I do think that will be a tournament that the Europa Conference, that they will target hugely, especially given Emery's record in that competition. You know, whether that will have an impact on... You know, when you look at it, their squad is just going to be thinner than Man City's, Liverpool's and Arsenal. That's not to say that their starting 11 isn't fantastic. That's not to say that their starting 11 doesn't match the likes of those three teams. And I think on their day at Villa Park, they beat any team in this league, and they showed that last night.
So you don't, but you don't think they're in a title race? Can I ask you one question then?
Yeah, go on.
Let's pretend that they beat Arsenal on the weekend.
Oh,
hang on. That would mean that they would have gone back-to-back wins against Manchester City and Arsenal.
That would also put them a point behind Arsenal as well in the table.
So does it basically come down to one fixture? Are we basically going to say here?
No, I'm going to stand by it. I think that if they're still ahead of one of those teams when we get past Christmas, then I'll consider them as title contenders. They're having an amazing season though, and fair play to them as well. But I'm just going to hold my judgment until then. But you've gone for it, mate.
Unai Emery is everything I want Mauricio Pochettino to be.
No, yeah. What he has exceeded, I think, many people's expectations. I think because of that spell with Arsenal, it didn't quite work out. But yeah, brilliant job he's doing there, and fair play. Hope the Villa fans are enjoying it. This is The Social on talkSPORT 2. Next up, we're going to check in with